I've been so excited about this case, but I think the execution is lackluster. This is the ShiftCam case for your Pixel 10 Pro XL that will allow you to affix their more recent lenses like the 240mm lens or any of the Moment T-series, including their 18mm 58 2x tele or their Anamorphic. Being able to have a lens that fits comfortably with a nice anodized aluminum adapter is something that I dreamed of, but in execution, unfortunately, ShiftCam doesn't do it justice. With that said, I'm going to review this case, go on location and show off some of the lenses here, but in the end, not to bury the lead, this is not necessarily a case I would recommend if you have a bunch of lenses like I do from Moment. If you have the ShiftCam lenses, then it's a different conversation. With that said, I do have a relationship with ShiftCam. All their lenses were provided to me complimentary except for the 240mm, so I will let you know of that relationship, but I did purchase this case with my own money. Let's unbox this, demonstrate it, and show you what you're getting yourself into. I've had a chance to review extensively this case, and I think in general it is a nice polycarbonate TPU case that's going to give you shockproof protection, military drop grade, as well as a nice ergonomic grip. I would say that they probably need something a little more rugged, especially if you're going to be using this one with their 240mm lens. And having something for you to be able to attach to a tripod is probably a good option as well. I would not recommend attaching anything to this MagSafe to a tripod. They have nice plastic buttons here and the anodized aluminum insert that can be taken off if you want to, replaced with just a lens guard. But you can see there, that's the T-series mount. You've got obviously the 1X and then the tele. You've got the guard over some of the other parts of the camera visor. On the back side here, you can see here that the anodized aluminum was cut into because the lenses for the T-series is actually a different adaptation than the ShiftCam. Placing it into the phone here is pretty straightforward. Other than having access to the lenses, the MagSafe is totally fine. Pixel Snap still allows you to charge wirelessly at that high rate. This is a 15 watt, 5,000 milliamp battery. You can throw other accessories here like this wallet. It's a leather wallet from Nomad that holds my cards. It's great that they incorporated that here. It's scratch resistant. It's got a nice ergonomic grip, but let's talk about the lenses. So if you've got the older ShiftCam lenses here, like Fisheye, which is my favorite, you're gonna have to add their little adapter here. But my problem is the adapter from this length to the lens all the way to the adapter is actually longer than what your typical Moment lens is. As you can see here, that distance between the lens and the wingtips is actually larger. And that plays for an issue here when you're trying to adapt a Moment lens to the ShiftCam. The ShiftCam is going to be fine. I'm going to be able to place this on the wide, no problem. It's going to fit. It's going to be rugged there. It is a little wobbly. That's because you have that adapter, but in practice, I had no problem being able to shoot with this. Fast forward to the newer lenses. This is the newest lens, the 240mm from ShiftCam SuperView. Built into it is that larger standard. They're not using the same Moment standard, 1,000th of a millimeter too long. On their lens adapter, it's gonna be fine. It's still kind of rock. But my problem is if you adapt any of the Moment lenses to this, because it's so small, it's actually gonna dig into the aluminum. It's gonna cut out that 1,000th of a millimeter. It will fit very tightly, but that just means now any other ShiftCam lens that you try to put back onto your phone is gonna be wobbly on that. Now it's wobbly because I cut that 1,000th of a millimeter. This doesn't fit anymore. Okay guys, we're here on location. I'm excited to be able to show off ShiftCam lens mount case here for the Pixel 10 Pro XL. I've got a bunch of different accessories here to use. We've got a Moment T-series wide, including their new 240mm, nearly 3.5x zoom lens for the Pixel 10 Pro XL. Here's what the lens looks like if you're gonna use a T-series lens. It is the wide angle. You can get the 58mm as well, or even some of the anamorphic. I also have this grip here from Telesin. This is their photo grip. Provides you 5,000 milliamp charge at about 5 to 10 watts. It's got a bunch of different features, including zoom that you can use here to zoom in and out, or to change some of your other settings here that you can from the little buttons, which is nice. In camera here, we've got the 18mm T-series wide angle lens here. Moment does a great job, especially being able to integrate this here on your Google native camera app. You have all the functionality here with the optical image stabilization. You do have a minimum focus length with this lens on there, but having this really nice grip is fun to be able to use here if you wanted to zoom in as well. You can get the majority of the fence in shot. The blues and the clouds look fantastic with that dynamic range as the sun is trying to peek through the clouds. You've got a nice wide angle shot here. Vlogging's great. It's able to stabilize the image really well, and you still have all of the major functions here of the phone, especially if you want to get some macro. It's a nice option here to be able to use. As I go through my grass, you can see the dandelions. The bokeh is really nice here. The background blurs, as you can still get that portrait shot if that's something you're interested in. Here's what it looks like, hands reach. That 18mm just gives you such a nice wide angle while still being able to optimize on that 1x lens. And then obviously you can throw on the 240mm super tele here from ShiftCam. It works really well with this whole rig, allowing you to be able to run and gun, shoot, do macro photography, all that good stuff. Since I placed on the 240mm, I can only really fit it on tele adapter. Because I placed the T-series lenses on there, you can see once I adapt it, it's actually very loose and it doesn't give you a really adaptation to the lens mount, which is unfortunate. So I'm only going to be placing it here on the tele, which is much more firm on that lens. Okay, so I'm some significant distance between me and the camera. You can see from my iPhone, it looks really nice in camera. I've adjusted it now. Hopefully you can see me here in shot. I've got this nice bust shot here. I'm right next to the tree, which is about 50 feet away. And it does a great job being able to integrate using the case and the adapter on the 5x tele. They look clean and sharp. Now on the 1x, because I had placed the T-series lenses on there, it actually cut into the anodized aluminum railing. Even though they say that it's T-series adaptable, fortunately, the moment T-series lenses don't quite fit and you have to really use a lot of torque to be able to fit it on there. And unfortunately, when I put the 240mm lens back on there, it's really wobbly. A little disappointed in that. With that said, I think this is definitely very viable if you wanted to have landscape, macro, or portrait shots here in your arsenal. You can also use something like the gold anamorphic, one of my favorites to be able to shoot with on this adapter, which I think is fun. Now, if you're not using a ShiftCam adapter, it is a little bit rough here for the first time, being able to put it here on the rails. But once you get it on there, it's recommended here that you put the lens on first before you place phone on there. And then once you get the lens all locked in, you can now go ahead and start making content. Okay, we're here with the Anamorphic. I'm using a third-party app to de-squeeze in camera, but you can see how wide that angle is here, and it looks great on the Pixel 10 Pro XL. It isn't necessarily doing any of the optical image stabilization. It's a little bit rough there, but you can set this up to a rig if you wanted to. Once the sun comes out, you can shoot and get that nice buttery flare across the phone. You can see how well it does here in my backyard, allowing you to be able to get the entirety of my property in shot, making it look really good while still having all of the capabilities of the Pixel 10 Pro XL lens. Coming up close, you do have some nice bokeh. The bokeh balls in the background here are going to blur out, which looks kind of fun as it flares out. The depth of field is really nice here. You can see the background blurs with my subject in place. There it is. The sun's finally out. Wow, that is bright. You've got the gold flare going across the screen. It looks really fun here, being able to add this here to your content creation if that's something you're interested in. As I demonstrated on location here, it looks really nice. I think the shots are great for this stellar camera array. The Pixel 10 Pro XL really does well with photography, and obviously cinematography, it looks great. My problem is now that I've got gaps on the adapters, this isn't really a viable option. It's very difficult to place on a moment lens onto the adapter, and then it makes the ShiftCam lenses wobbly. And so this is something that I wouldn't necessarily recommend. It was definitely user error because well, I didn't realize that T-series wasn't gonna fit. I'm gonna have to warn you guys that this is definitely a buyer beware. It's not that expensive here, but if you wanted to adapt a lens to your Google Pixel 10 Pro XL, I'm recommending that you stick with one lens. With that said, a little frustrated here, but I do like being able to use this with my Pixel. Let me know down in the comments if I'm wrong. Hopefully ShiftCam, you see this, so I would like my money back. With that said, I'll have links down in the description for the product pricing and availability. This is a sponsored video because of that relationship and because those are affiliate links. Thanks so much for watching. Andy with Tech Influence. Will catch you on the next one. Bye.